Max Nation, this is Unger to the Max coming at you with your Week 4 edition of the Cleveland Browns game previews and vlogs here on the SportsRoom TalkShow. I got my man Rise Up Rundown with me. We are talking the 2-1 Cleveland Browns taking on the 1-2 Atlanta Falcons. And so tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get to be an Atlanta Falcons fan? We like to know that type of stuff.
So my story is pretty funny. It's not your typical, like I'm from Atlanta and I chose the Falcons. It's more like my twin brother, we both we didn't know a thing about football even before 2015, 14. And we were kind of just getting into it. We didn't know the teams, nothing. And so I didn't know there was more than one Florida team because we're kind of like in the Central Florida area. And the only Florida team I was aware of was the Dolphins, and that's what he chose. And as a twin, I didn't want to be the same. I was like, well, I can't choose a Florida team. I have to be different. And then I looked at the Falcons and I remembered because when I was growing up, I always thought about living at least close by to Atlanta, like kind of like super up north Georgia, just for like, the scenery and like the job opportunities. And I was like, okay, I'll just vibe with the Falcons. I've been there plenty of times anyway. I frankly like my time up there, and why not? And so I've just stuck with the Falcons ever since. But man, times have changed because now it's my brother going to Atlanta, and I'm not really sure where I'm gonna head yet. But sticking with the Falcons and will never change.
Yeah, I mean, your channel is called Rise Up Rundown, which Rise Up is their slogan. You said you're in Central Florida. Did you get affected by the hurricane at all?
Kind of like Orlando kind of got affected in a way. Like I saw there's a really famous park called Lake Eola Park, and it got flooded pretty bad. And part of Universal Studios kind of got flooded. But where I'm at, it's a good like 40 minutes northwest of it. And the only thing I experienced was just like leaking in the house, but nothing too serious.
Okay,
My family lost power, but I'm still here.
gotcha. So, like, nobody got injured or anything like that, or
No,
like,
yeah, everyone's good.
okay, that's awesome to hear. By the way, sending out good vibes and positive thoughts to everyone who was affected by the hurricane, whether it was a little bit or a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you must be feeling pretty good about the Falcons. You're coming off of a win against the Seattle Seahawks. You're 1-2 on the season. Mariota didn't play bad in that game. I have the stats written down. Actually, I put them in the description, but I'll pull them up on the ESPN app. I think I saw he threw for what? 2 touchdowns, I believe?
I believe 2 touchdowns, yeah. Somewhere around like 200. Oh, man, I don't even remember. I think 230 yards, something like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me just pull it up on the ESPN app. Yeah, Mariota was 13 of 20, 229 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. That's not bad.
Yeah, not bad. The interception was, I feel, the decision making was odd, but the play calling, I don't know if you remember, it was just like this odd, like, so they could have gone with a Hail Mary with, I believe, like, I don't even remember how many seconds left. I think it was like 5 seconds left into the second quarter, and they just throw this like dig route or I don't remember what the route was, but it's just this really odd play call. So the interception, I guess I'm hoping, it's not like all Mariota's fault. It was also kind of a bad play call, but he played good for the most part.
Yeah.
And the Falcons offense has been a top 10 scoring unit, which I didn't even know until the broadcaster said it during that Seahawks game. So offense is doing good. Defense is still getting there, but
Yeah. And now you have to face a 2-headed running back monster in Nick
yeah.
Chubb and Kareem Hunt. What do you think about that matchup for your defense?
Well, Nick Chubb, I'm always excited to see play no matter what, because, I mean, even my college team, I like where he's from, Georgia. So I've always liked watching Nick Chubb play, and it's nice to see him succeed. And then Kareem Hunt, I was happy to see succeed as well, and I was kind of jealous that the Browns stole him, because I remember when he was a free agent, I said the Falcons should pick him up. But the Browns did it before us, so I can't complain that we had a snooze you lose moment. But the Browns in this running game, I feel there's virtually no way you can stop it. I think Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, it doesn't really matter who would have the better game. It's still going to help the Browns offense regardless. And this Falcons front just has been weak for years. And I'm not really expecting the Falcons to stop them here. So I think the Browns are probably going to move the ball on offense hell a lot with that run game. It's nice to see those players succeed, but man, against the Falcons, you're always having as a Falcons fan, you want your fingers crossed, like, oh, please just stop them, but they won't.
Yeah. Hey, you guys have some weapons, though, on offense. You got Drake London, the receiver you drafted out of USC. You got Kyle Pitts. He was drafted by the Falcons at the draft here in Cleveland, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cordero Patterson, although I think I saw he was listed as questionable for this game. So that could be a big loss for you if, in fact, he is out. Yeah, I see. I'm looking at it. He's listed as questionable, so we'll see. But that could be a big loss for you, no?
Yeah, it could, for sure. He had 2 games this year. He was kind of like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, where he just gets like 120 plus yards, and that was 2 games of the whole season so far, and we're 3 games in. So if you're running back that had 2 out of 3 games with like 120 plus yards and a touchdown, like, you're missing out. And I think Falcons fans, I mean, it's not that they're looking at this and being like, oh, like it's nothing. It's just kind of like, I think this is a bigger loss than we might think. Marcus Mariota is a fine runner of the football. Tyler Algier has been okay, but man, like, if we can't get anything in the passing game, I also worry if we can't even get anything in the run game. And this Browns defense is not a joke. So losing Patterson could hurt.
I mean, you brought up that the Browns defense is not a joke. We're without Anthony Walker. He's done for the season after suffering an injury last week against the Steelers. Jadeveon Clowney is listed as questionable for this game. And then Myles Garrett, he was involved in that car accident. He's out for this game. Taven Bryan, another defensive tackle, he's out for this game. So you may have a chance against us if your offensive line can hold up.
Well, losing Myles Garrett helps for the Falcons. I obviously hope he recovers and whatnot, but for the Falcons' sake, like, it definitely helps. And what came to my surprise is Pro Football Focus said the Falcons have a top 10 offensive line, and I was like, I knew they were overachieving, but I didn't know they had a top 10 offensive line, so that shocked me. And Arthur Smith, I believe in him. It looks like the Falcons and the Browns have a really good offensive-minded coach, so I think that this will be a back-and-forth offensive game. The Browns defense, I mean, I guess I wasn't aware of the pieces they lost that you mentioned, but
yeah,
the Browns defense has been pretty solid, and they also are getting a lot of rest from that Thursday night game, so they had a little more time to prepare. I guess I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on Jacoby Brissett? What do you think the passing game is going to look like?
He definitely seems to have found a connection with Amari Cooper. Thanks again, Dallas. All we had to give up was a 5th-round pick for him. And he seems to have found a connection with David Njoku. So I like that. I'm not fully sold on him, but I'm not going to be like, oh, let's trade him away next week type thing. Like, I like what he's doing for us. given his skill set. When we do get Deshaun Watson back in Week 13, my guess is this offense will take a step forward, which you could kind of call this the Deshaun Watson Bowl because you guys were trying to get
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson for a while. That's why Matt Ryan ended up in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But actually, with that, I like Marcus Mariota as your I almost said Marcus Mariota as your head coach. No, I meant I like Marcus Mariota as your starting quarterback paired with Arthur Smith because when Mariota was the quarterback with the Tennessee Titans, Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator there.
Mm-hmm.
So that reuniting, I like it.
Yeah, I think it's helping a lot. I think Mariota has the right I don't want to act like I know him personally, but like I think his mindset is definitely changed from his time in Tennessee. Sometimes, and it sounds crazy, but like I feel like he kind of needed to be a backup at one point to kind of be like, like a fresh start, kind of like a slap in the face by reality of like, okay, let's kind of like, get things in check. And he knows this is the exact same coach that benched him. So he knows it could happen again. And, I don't want to say Mariota's been, this great quarterback or anything, but he's been exceptionally better than he's been in Tennessee. I'd argue he's even been better than he was in Las Vegas. But, I guess how much more time are we going to see Mariota as the quarterback is the question. But, I don't think we see Desmond Ridder in this game. I think Mariota's probably going to finish out the game. But yeah, he's played pretty well. And I think, reuniting here has actually helped him a lot.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I don't think we'd see Desmond Ridder in this game at all, but I could see him starting at some point during the season. And we got a question here. Do you guys think the Birds are going to be seeking revenge from that 2018 thrashing after Chubby had the 92-yard rushing touchdown? That is true. We've beaten you the last two times we played each other. In 2018 here in Cleveland and then 2014 in Atlanta. So you guys are going to want to get us back for those two games.
The Browns have our number, man. We it seems like we have a little bit of trouble really when facing the whole AFC North, but like with the Browns, like the 2014 one, I guess it was kind of a while ago to recall what happened there, but the 2018 one with that 92-yarder by Nick Chubb, like, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Like, it was a feel-good moment in a way, like to see Nick Chubb succeed and all, but it had to be against us. So, like, it's a revenge game for a lot of reasons. Like the Deshaun Watson thing is obviously a big factor. Because, with how Mariota's playing, and then like we still don't actually know how Watson's going to play. But if he plays well, I think the Falcons will really want revenge here.
Yeah.
It's a revenge game for sure.
Yeah, the last time you guys beat us was in Cleveland back in 2010.
A while ago, yeah.
Yeah. And before that, you hadn't beaten us since, I believe it's 1993. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, the Browns have our number.
Yeah.
The Browns beat us a lot. And I think they're still favored in this game, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at the odds right now. We're a -1 point favorite. So, yeah.
I mean, I think it'll be high scoring. It'll be entertaining, but that's your typical Falcons game. It's always entertaining, but they just never win.
Yeah. Do you think the Falcons are still trying to shake off the whole 28-3 stuff, or is that too far in the past?
I would say as soon as Arthur Smith came in is when I think, well, actually, I would argue this year is when it changed because Matt Ryan wasn't your quarterback anymore. But I feel after the 2020 season is when I feel let that dream go because it was never going to happen. Never. Like they were never, ever going to get revenge for 28-3. It just wasn't going to happen. So I think getting a new head coach, and I believe, I guess Falcons fans have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the only players from that Super Bowl squad we have now is Grady Jarrett and Jake Matthews. So I feel it's like a brand new team. They obviously are aware of 28-3, but they almost came back 28-3 versus the Rams. So I would argue back then we wouldn't have even came close to completing that comeback.
Yeah.
So I think they're aware of it, but I don't think it's the same goal. I think it's just kind of like, all right, that was our history, but let's see what we can do now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at your first 3 games of the season. I mean, you only lost by 1 against the Saints in week 1, 27-26. You barely lost to the Rams in week 2, 31-27. And then you came out with a 4-point win last week against Seattle. So based on that, I would expect this to be a close game because, besides for the 29-17 win we had last week against Pittsburgh, we've been in close games ourselves. We had the 13-point collapse against the Jets in week 2. And in week 1, it took a 58-yard field goal by a rookie kicker, Cade York, to get us the win against Carolina. So based on the track record for both teams, I would expect a close game.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I didn't think about how close the Browns games have been. I knew they had the close game week 1 and then week 2, but it really wasn't until I believe the last I don't even remember what the Steelers were trying to do, but there was this really weird play in the end, and it kind of looked like a blow, but the Browns Steelers game was probably closer than the scoreboard seems.
Yeah, Browns Steelers games usually tend to be pretty close. Kind of like Falcons Saints, you know.
Falcons and Saints is I'm not going to act like it was a surprise to see that we lost, but that this is I think this is just who the Falcons are. Falcons are a very competitive team. I think that with Arthur Smith, you'll always be a competitive team and you'll score some points. You'll see some players turn their career around a little bit, like Cordero Patterson, of course. And, for the start that Drake London and Kyle Pitts have had, it's been pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Mariota has been better than he was at Tennessee. So I think Arthur Smith has himself, the Falcons have themselves a good coach. But it's really just about, can we get a quarterback? And, Falcons fans, they almost don't like when I dog on Mariota because it's like, oh, well, Mariota got you this top 10 offense. And I'm like, okay, but are you arguing that we could have been much better? Like Mariota fumbled the Saints game on 3rd and 1. And if we didn't, we would have won. And if Mariota threw to Kyle Pitts instead of Brian Edwards versus Jalen Ramsey and the Rams, we would have won. So it's like, okay, he got us top 10, but, is anyone arguing he lost us the game? So,
right.
So
yeah, so it's like, it's kind of like he's a very unpredictable quarterback is what it sounds like you're saying. Like, you don't know if each week, are you going to get the good Marcus Mariota or are you going to get the bad Marcus Mariota? That's basically what I'm hearing you say.
Yep, that's 100% accurate. You got it correct. Marcus Mariota is very he's inconsistent. That's all you can really say.
That was what Browns fans were typically saying about Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, Baker. I was rooting for Baker because I liked his story, but man, I just think Baker's not a good I think the Browns made the right decision to move on. I don't think was getting the job done.
Yeah, he was getting too cocky at times, and after that Falcons game in week 10 of the 2018 season, he's like, I woke up feeling dangerous.
Yeah.
All that, this and that. It's like, okay, I get it. You're excited and all that, but you have to back it up a little bit,
All right, do the Browns still do they have some of that feeling dangerous vibe still, or was that just kind of a Baker Mayfield thing?
To me, that felt more like a Baker Mayfield thing.
Yeah.
I can understand why you would ask that, though, 100%. I'm looking at some of the stats right now. Like, the Falcons, they put up about 26.7 points per game. I don't know where the 0.7 comes from. Not to rub salt in the 28-3 wound, but the Browns' points per game is 28.3.
Well, all right. Well, I guess I can't say anything about that.
And then points allowed per game, we're allowing about 24, and you're allowing about 27. So I would expect this game to be in the high 20s, maybe low 30s.
Yeah, that's my guinea pig in the background.
Oh, you have a guinea pig?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not really sure what's going on.
Oh, no, not a big deal.
So yeah, the Falcons and the Browns, they're a very similar team. Like, I think their defense, I guess now that you mention it, I guess the Browns defense has kind of let up more than I thought, but I just still kind of like their players. There's a really good safety, I think, that the Browns have.
Oh, you mean Denzel Ward?
Yeah, I like him. And then Myles Garrett is fun to watch as a player, but I know he's not playing. And they have some talent on that defense, but with this Falcons offense and how Arthur Smith has been, I think this will probably be a back and forth game. I do have one question though. How well do Browns fans travel, considering this is in Atlanta?
They travel pretty well. Being that it's in Atlanta, it's going to be a pro Falcons crowd, obviously, but I think you'll see a decent amount of orange and brown at Mercedes Benz Stadium. I don't think the Falcons have said whether the dome is going to be open or closed tomorrow, but I don't know how much of a difference that'll actually make in the game, if any.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't make too much of a difference. It's really just like a weather change, but I mean, it's a dome, so it's like, what good does it really do?
Yeah.
But the Browns fans, I'm not really, I'm not really sure what to expect. Browns fans going to Atlanta. Falcons fans, they've been like okay in like home field games, but they were pretty good week 1. So the home field should probably be pretty decent.
Yeah.
And I think it'll help them a little bit.
Yeah, I think they'll have extra energy, being that you're coming home and you're coming off of your first win of the season.
Yeah, true. And the energy from your first win always is going to bring in energy.
Right.
And now that they know, because last year was a little different, because it's like, like we got our win versus the Giants and now we're home versus the Commanders, but we kind of know where this is going. It's just Matt Ryan, and like this offense is just so like it could move the ball, but not as well as this year's. And I think the fans know, like, okay, we are about to score some points. As they say, offense sells tickets. So there's probably going to be people awaiting the points, but they also should be waiting for a hopeful win. But that just usually doesn't happen in Atlanta.
Yeah. The over-under for this game is 47.5.
Yeah, not very good.
So what do you think? Take the under on that one?
Nah. I'd say the Browns will probably win. Although I don't think it'll be a blowout, because the Falcons looks like they have some things going for them. Like utilizing Kyle Pitts was huge, of course. Drake London, I think, will have an okay game, and you got the home field working for you. But this defense they're not going to stop the running game. Like, they're not going to stop the running game. Like, Falcons fans are going to be in for a frustrating time to see Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt run all over the place.
Yeah.
It'll be close, but I do think the Browns will win.
Okay. By the way, I don't know if you're an Atlanta Braves fan or not, but I can give you a quick score update if you are. Because they're playing the New York Mets. It is currently 1-0 Mets.
1-0 Mets. All right.
Bottom of the first, so the game just started.
I'm happy for Atlanta sports regardless. I'd say the only sport I definitely watch is the Falcons.
Okay.
And baseball is a fun sport to watch. I can dig some baseball. So when the Braves, I mean, they won the World Series last year. So the Braves are a fun team to watch. You know, I don't mind rooting for the Braves.
Okay, I got you. But I can tell you're more of a football fan more than anything.
Yeah, I guess that just took over for me.
Hey, I get it. Trust me, football, I would say football is definitely taken over as America's #1 sport.
Yeah, it took over for sure. Although
Yeah.
I think basketball is like the number one across the world, right? Or soccer or something like that.
Yeah, I think soccer is.
Yeah,
Um,
football is just here.
yeah. But it's actually interesting. You know, we were talking about Marcus Mariota earlier. I wrote an article just recently on Fanside about this tricky, like, 5-game stretch that the Browns are about to endure, starting with this week against the Falcons. You know, you got a running quarterback in Marcus Mariota. I know that's not his first, um, his first, I'm trying to think of the word. His first instinct is to take off and run, but he can.
Mhm.
And then after that, later on in the stretch, you got Lamar Jackson, who's also a running quarterback. I would say him and Mariota have similar skill sets. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's like up here and Mariota's there, but that's tough. And then you got what should be a high-powered offense next week with the Chargers. After that, you got Bill Belichick. It's always tough playing Bill Belichick. Then, of course, you have the Ravens and then Cincinnati. So I want the Browns to get off on a good start against the Falcons so that they can feel better about themselves going into this
Mhm.
tough 5-game stretch.
Yeah, I think my final prediction on the Browns was I think they'd finish 10-7. So they
Okay.
would have a winning record. I was just worried about, you know, if it would be too late with Deshaun Watson, because I know he'll obviously be out for a while. Um, and, you know, considering the AFC isn't as strong as, you know, probably everyone expected it to be, because like the Broncos with Russell Wilson and the Raiders with Devontae Adams, it's certainly not as this, you know, like as strong as we thought it was going to be. So the Browns, I think, are probably better than all the hyped up teams that were coming into the year. I think
Yeah.
the Browns are in a pretty good spot to take the 6th or 7th seed for sure. And honestly, well, I mean, I was going to say, considering how the Bengals are playing, they could win the AFC North. But how are you feeling with the Ravens? Do you think you can top the Ravens, or do you think the Ravens have it?
If I had to say right now, I would give it to the Ravens just because of the way Lamar is playing. He's playing, you know, he didn't get the contract extension he wanted in the offseason. So I would definitely, as of right now, I would say it's the Ravens division to lose. With the Falcons, I don't think you're going to be picking, you know, like high in the first round, like 1
Mhm.
to 5. I think you'll be somewhere in the 7 to 10 range, which is better than what you've been doing in the past. You know, you're in a division with Carolina. We don't know what Baker Mayfield is going to be with the Panthers necessarily. Um, we got another question actually. How question How dangerous is Caleb Huntley going to be against a banged up Browns defense?
Not dangerous at all. Honestly, not dangerous at all. Honestly, like
Okay.
Caleb Huntley is so like unproven. But I don't know. I mean, I did kind of talk about Arthur Smith turning careers around, so maybe like Caleb Huntley had like a surprise game. I'm not really sure how strong the Browns' run defense is. Are they any good?
Um, it it's really hard to say to answer this question because there'll be some games where it's like, oh, they look good stopping the run defensively, and then there'll be other games where it's like the opposing running back is just running all over the place. So I if I had to answer that question, I would say right now the Browns defense is middle of the road. Not great,
Okay.
not terrible though.
Okay. Yeah, I'm expecting. Marcus Mariota to have, like what he's had all year. Just like he doesn't. Well, I mean, he scrambles a lot, but like it's not like when he scrambles, he's like Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. It's not like when he scrambles, you're like, oh god, like we got to watch out. It's just kind of like, okay, like Mariota could pick up a first down or so. And then when Cordero Patterson is in, you would have to watch out. But I think Browns fans maybe will catch a break because it doesn't look like Patterson will play. So we'll really have to rely on this offensive line to protect well so we can pass well. And they've been doing that, but it's just not at the level that we want it to be.
Mhm.
As far as the run game goes, Mariota will be fine, but Caleb Huntley, I'll just be honest, I don't think you'll need to worry much. Same
Okay.
with Tyler Algier.
Yeah. So this game against the Browns might be your most winnable game looking at your upcoming schedule because after the Browns, you play at Tampa, home against San Francisco, at Cincinnati, and then your next winnable game would be home against Carolina on the day before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll give up my honest thoughts. I won't sugarcoat it. The Browns game, I'm expecting a loss. I don't think we'll win. The Buccaneers game, we never beat Tom Brady, so I will never say we beat Tom Brady until I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got the Bengals after that, right?
49ers.
Oh, 49ers. So I used to say that was like, I used to be like, yeah, we're not going to win that. But man, the 49ers offense, it looks like losing Mike McDaniel actually hurts them a little more than I thought. So, you know, maybe like the Falcons have been like okay versus the Niners in the years, but and then the Bengals, probably not a win there. And then the Panthers, we usually never really lose to the Panthers. So if we win to the Browns, we could have like two more wins after that. But if not, then I think the Falcons will be sitting at they'd be having like 3 wins and 6 losses. I want to say 5 losses.
Sounds about right. And we got another question here. If Isaiah Oliver were hypothetically able to play tomorrow, do you think the Falcons could win?
Um, sure. Like, I was never like the biggest Isaiah Oliver fan. Like in the beginning. In the beginning, he was not a good corner, but I think they found I just don't think he was an outside corner. They put him at nickel, and I think that's worked a lot better for him. So, the Browns have good receivers, but Isaiah Oliver's been pretty good when he was there last year. The only problem is he hasn't really played in a little bit. So,
Right.
can he get back to the roots he was at last year? We'll see. But, um, you got AJ Terrell who played great last week, despite how rough he played the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, I like
Uh,
AJ Terrell.
Casey Hayward is a name, but he's not good. So sure, it could make our defense a little more respectable, I guess.
Yeah. So offensively, we already talked about Drake London. We talked about Kyle Pitts. What kind of difference do you think Brian Edwards could make for the game tomorrow? Any type of difference, or
I like that question. I think people sleep on Brian Edwards, but like not in this way of like, oh, like Brian Edwards is this big game changer. It's just kind of like I think people it's like they forget about him because they don't know what to expect. But when Brian Edwards is on, honestly, he's a good receiver. Like, he's the receiver Arthur Smith likes. The big bodied receiver can block well and has contested catches. So far he hasn't really had this like, big moment in Atlanta, but I believe he was, I don't know why I'm forgetting this, but I think he was injured last week. So if he can come back healthy, maybe this is kind of like a get right kind of game for him. So, I don't think you'd have to worry about him as much as Drake London and Kyle Pitts, of course, but he'd be like like, okay, like he could make like 2 or 3 cool plays.
yeah, okay. Obviously, if Calvin Ridley were not suspended, he would have been your wide receiver 1. But
Yeah.
with Drake London now being your wide receiver one, what do you think? Can he be a reliable number one wide receiver? Or what do you think?
Sure. Drake London can be considering Ridley hasn't played in a while, like that's an advantage for Drake London to take the starting spot. But um, I think Drake London is a very different receiver to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley was he's more like that run around speedster kind of guy. But Drake London's definitely a bigger bodied. He's not like turtle speed slow, but he's just noticeably slower than Calvin Ridley.
Sure.
And he's got better hands, I think. So Drake London is a different type of receiver. But I think he could step up as a wide receiver one. He just simply needs more time.
That's fair. My guess is Denzel Ward is going to be matched up with him tomorrow because from what I've seen, the Browns usually defensively put Denzel Ward on the opposing team's best wide receiver. So when Cincinnati still had A.J. Green, it seemed to be that Denzel was matched up with him. When Pittsburgh still had Antonio Brown, it seemed to be that Denzel Ward was matched up with him. So my guess is, considering Drake London is your best wide receiver, that Denzel's going to be matched up with him. I'm not sure how we deal with Kyle Pitts, though, considering our linebackers. I like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and I like Sione Takitaki, but we've always had problems defensively against tight ends. So that could hurt us tomorrow, considering I like Kyle Pitts as a tight end. I think he's developed really nicely, and he seems to have a strong connection with Mariota.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be tough for the Browns. Kyle Pitts, I think, is one of those players. It's like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. There's basically no way you can stop them when they're on. Kyle Pitts, I think, now this depends on if the Falcons utilize him, because there was obviously this whole talk in the beginning of the year of, Arthur Smith doesn't utilize Kyle Pitts, but then he gets utilized versus the Seahawks, and if he had two more catches, he would have been at 100 yards for sure, but he still had 80 yards, which still isn't bad. But he's an incredible receiver. The Falcons know it. Like, they definitely know it, but we just got to get him a touchdown. And honestly, you know what? I'll say it. I think that's the key to victory versus the Browns. I think you just got to utilize your weapons on offense, but especially Kyle Pitts, because with Patterson out, I'm not expecting this run game to do anything, and then this defense just has a long way to go if they want to be, a respectable unit, I guess.
Yeah.
But these receivers, if you just utilize them, then the Falcons at least have a pretty good chance.
Okay. I'm looking at your roster. You guys actually have Kadero Hodge at wide receiver. He used to play for us. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. I wonder if Kadero has gone to Arthur Smith and said, hey, this is my former team. Give me some playing time. I want to use this as a revenge game.
Well, he's been all right for us. I wasn't expecting it, I'll admit it. I was looking at Kadero Hodge as just what's he doing here kind of player, but he's actually been okay. And revenge games are a real thing. That actually can happen. It could be possible that he went up to Arthur Smith and said, "This is my time to shine. This is the Browns. I got to let them know they shouldn't have let go of me." Now, realistically, I don't think he's going to, take off and be like Kyle Pitts or whatnot. But I think a revenge game could certainly be good. A strong chance of happening. And he might have a solid game, 50 yards, 60 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
But nothing game changing.
Fair enough. It's weird. This is the second game in 4 weeks that we're playing against a former Brown, because week 1, Baker Mayfield. My guess is we probably played against somebody who was a former Cleveland Brown against the Jets, but none that I know of. And same thing with the Steelers. I bet there was a former Brown somewhere on there. I don't know. But this game we have Kadero Hodge.
Is Austin Hooper still on the team?
No, we cut him
No.
and he signed with Tennessee.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was gonna say I'm like Austin Hooper might be in for a revenge game, but if he's on Tennessee, then I guess that's out of the realm. But I was like wondering, like, whatever happened? Like, what was your opinion on Austin Hooper? Did he do any good or?
I I kind of liked him. I I think the problem is that we had 3 tight ends on the roster, so you don't really have room for everybody because we had David Njoku, we had Harrison Bryant, and we had Austin Hooper. I mean, yeah, you can play like the 2 tight end sets, but what are you gonna do with the third guy then? Type thing. So, in my opinion, I liked Austin Hooper. I just felt like the production wasn't quite where it needed to be.
Yep, same with the Falcons. He was fine, but the production was just not where you wished it was, and like I mean, I was all sad when he was gone at first, but I mean, we got Kyle Pitts, so it worked out in our favor, but yeah, I was wondering like whatever happened to Kyle Pitts? I mean, not Kyle Pitts, Austin Hooper, and I don't know how he's doing in Tennessee, but I mean, if we haven't heard of him, then probably not that
Yeah,
well.
I haven't been following, but then again, the Titans are so Derrick Henry dependent.
Yeah.
If you're a wide receiver for them, you might as well just be a Christmas tree ornament.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on Kevin Stefanski?
I really liked what he's done with this team. It seems like this team has kind of adapted, or maybe adapted isn't the right word, has kind of taken his attitude and we made the playoffs in 2020. You can say that was because of Baker Mayfield or not. In my opinion, that was more because of the run game. And Baker Mayfield was just part of the equation. But regardless, yeah, I like Stefanski. Like he's brought a new attitude to this team that we bought into, and like he's the one that brought this run first mentality and kind of building the passing game off of that. I'd like to see us use a little bit more play action, though. I don't think we utilize that part of the game enough. I feel like too often when we go to do a pass, it's more of the straight drop back pass. But I get it. Like, when you run the ball as much as we do, it forces the defense to bring the safety down into the box to open up the passing game. But still, what do you think about Arthur Smith as head coach?
Oh man, Falcons fans love my answer on this one. I so I'll admit I've been a little annoying about him on my channel. Because it seems like in every video, Falcons fans they know it. Like they know I'm pretty high on Arthur Smith. I got my Twitter header. It says "In Arthur Smith we trust," and then I can't even recall the amount of times in videos. Like if I was saying like, oh, like why we'll have a top run game, and oh, why this player's going to turn their career around. In almost every single video, one of those reasons was they have Arthur Smith at head coach, and he's known to turn players' careers around. He's got more experience as a head coach now, so he's going to have more creativity. And I just, words cannot express how highly I think of Arthur Smith. I truly do believe he's the answer at head coach. You just got to get him. Like Mariota's been fine. I don't want to dog on him too much, but I don't think anyone's seriously sitting here saying he's going to help them win a Super Bowl. So, if you get him a quarterback, which, like you said, I don't think the Falcons will be picking in the top 5. But, even if they did, at least you get your quarterback. I don't know, like CJ Stroud or at this point, Stetson Bennett. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. You just got to get your quarterback, and then I think this team will go miles ahead of where they're at now.
You don't think Desmond Ridder could be the answer at quarterback long term?
He's kind of a wait and see for the most part, but I'll also admit my expectations aren't crazy high for him. Like, usually third round picks, it's not that they don't ever succeed. Like, obviously there was they're comparing him to Dak Prescott in a way where it's like, he wasn't picked in the first round, but he has like the mobility and the winner mindset. Like, I think Desmond Ridder could be kind of like Mariota, but much better. Like, I think he could be a good quarterback. And maybe if you built like a really good team around him, maybe some things could happen. But I'll just be honest with you. I don't think he's going to be the future. But at the same time, we also need to see him play.
That's fair. You mentioned how like you drafted Desmond Ridder after getting Marcus Mariota, and it's like you kind of said it. They have similar skill sets in the way they play. I feel like that's the same thing we did here in Cleveland once we added Deshaun Watson. We went out and signed Jacoby Brissett. We then went out and signed Josh Dobbs. Because, again, they all have similar skill sets or playing styles, I should say. And that's good. Like, if you still have Matt Ryan as your starting quarterback, he's not a mobile quarterback. He's a very stationary quarterback. And let's say he were to get injured and you bring in Desmond Ridder, that's two, like, vastly different playing styles. Do you think that would have, like, messed up the offense at all?
Oh,
Or?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it shows. Last year we weren't this statistical top 10 offense with Matt Ryan because, and, I get that the offensive line was like, obviously a little younger than they were this year, of course, but still though, without a mobile quarterback and also knowing that Arthur Smith in Tennessee was working with like Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota, they were also mobile quarterbacks. And that's kind of where Arthur Smith got his recognition, was what he could do with the bootleg and, what he could do with Ryan Tannehill's mobility. He couldn't really do what he did with Matt Ryan's mobility because it's frankly just not there. So I think it absolutely would have messed up our offense a little bit. So I think it's nice to have a change of scenery there.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that one. But I know you said you had to get going around this time, so we'll wrap things up. First of all, thank you so much for helping me out and popping in on a short notice. We can definitely talk via Twitter during the game. I'm happy to do a little bit of bantering, a little bit of trash talk, whatever. If you want to do that type of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to do some type of post-game video, I'm happy to do that. If you want me to come on your channel, I'm cool with that. Whatever you want to do. You want to give a little bit of a score prediction before we go?
I'll go Browns 31-27.
I was thinking around the same. I'll do 1 point difference, 32-28.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, so I think we're both expecting the same type of thing. Low 30s, high 20s. Although with the Browns, it could be that they just go, we know Atlanta has some good weapons, so we're just going to run the ball and watch. It turns into like a 24-17 type game. I don't know.
Yeah. It'll be somewhere around there for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, though.
Oh, no problem. I'll make sure to put a link to your channel in the description. Do you want me to put any other social media for you in the description?
Yeah, and I'm gonna try and make it simple because there's a lot that I always tag. So for my Twitter, and I have an Instagram, but I got locked out of it, so I need to find a way back in. But my Instagram and my Twitter, it's just at Rise Up Rundown. It's just my YouTube name. And then my stop motion channel with the comics is at Spider Rat Comics, SpiderRatComics. And I also like to make entertainment. And I'm working on a pretty big project right now. And I think at this point, I've kind of grab most of my audience's attention, and I thank everyone for that. But man, if you haven't heard, like, you're missing out.
Yeah.
There's a trailer, and there's a music collaboration that I haven't told anyone about, but that is happening too. So there's a lot of cool stuff there, and that's where you can find it on YouTube.
Sounds good. I'm already subscribed to your channel. I'll make sure I have the bell on so I have all your notifications.
Cool. Thank you.
For everyone who has subscribed to my channel, do the same thing. Make sure you punch that like button like a UFC fighter. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, what the heck are you doing? Subscribe to UngarToTheMax. We are at 462 subscribers. Let's get to 500 and then 600 and beyond that. And make sure you go over to Rise Up Rundown, subscribe to his channel. He makes great Atlanta Falcons content. I'll be on the lookout for some of your other content. But until next time, I'm UngarToTheMax. That's Rise Up Rundown. And you've been watching this week's episode of the SportsRoom TalkShow, discussing the Week 4 matchup between the 2-1 Cleveland Browns and the 1-2 Atlanta Falcons.